Jus ad Bellum, the Justice of War, Section 3. Welcome back, everyone. In our last lecture, we traced the origins of just war theory through ancient traditions and the work of Augustine. Today, we turn to one of the two central pillars of just war theory, jus ad bellum, or the justice of war. This part of the theory asks the crucial question: when is it morally permissible to go to war? It sets out criteria that must be met before a state can rightly initiate conflict. If these conditions are not met, then the war is unjust from the start, regardless of how it is conducted. The purpose of jus ad bellum. The aim of jus ad bellum is to limit war by making sure it is only fought for truly just reasons. It tries to prevent wars motivated by greed, conquest, revenge, or hatred. Instead, it allows war only as a tragic last resort for the sake of peace and justice, the core criteria of jus ad bellum 1. Just cause a war must be fought only for reasons that are morally legitimate. Examples include defending the innocent from attack, reclaiming stolen territory, punishing grave injustice, or carrying out God's command in a religious framework. Augustine emphasized that while death in war is tragic, it is not the killing itself that makes a war unjust. It is the motives. Wars driven by revenge, ambition, or lust for power are unjust. 2. Comparative justice. Both sides in a conflict may believe they are right, but the just cause must clearly outweigh the opponent's claims. This principle prevents minor disputes from escalating into full-scale wars. For example, if one nation's grievance is relatively small compared to the destruction war would cause, war cannot be justified. 3. Right intention. Even if there is a just cause, the intention behind the war must be pure. The true aim of war should be peace and the restoration of justice, not conquest, revenge, or hatred. Augustine warned that rulers must constantly examine their motives, because wars that begin with noble causes can quickly become corrupted. 4. Competent authority. Only a legitimate political authority has the right to declare war. Private individuals or rogue groups cannot wage just wars on their own. For Augustine, this meant sovereign rulers. In modern times, this often includes national governments or international bodies like the United Nations. 5. Last resort war must only be undertaken after all peaceful alternatives have been tried and exhausted, such as diplomacy, negotiation, sanctions, or arbitration. This principle forces leaders to prove that they have done everything possible to avoid bloodshed. 6. Public declaration: a war must be openly declared, not carried out in secret. The idea here is transparency. The aggressor must make clear why they are fighting and show the world that no other options remain. 7. Reasonable probability of success. It is unjust to launch a war that has no chance of success, as this only leads to unnecessary death and suffering. Augustine himself questioned this principle, pointing out that sometimes justice demands resistance even against overwhelming odds. But in general, futile wars are seen as morally wrong. 8. Proportionality. The good expected to come from the war must outweigh the harm it will cause. For example, stopping a genocide may justify the destruction that war brings, but starting a war over trade disputes or pride is disproportionate. 9. Peace as the ultimate goal. Above all, the purpose of a just war must be to secure a lasting peace. War is never justified for its own sake. It is always a means toward restoring order, reconciliation, and justice. Why jus ad bellum matters. These criteria serve as a moral checklist for leaders. They do not make war good. They only determine whether war might be morally tolerable. If a war fails jus ad bellum standards, then no matter how well it is fought, it remains unjust. This reflects Augustine's central point: war must never be waged for selfish reasons. It must be waged only for justice and peace. So, to summarize, jus ad bellum provides a strict set of conditions: just cause, right intention, competent authority, last resort, proportionality, and peace as the final goal. These conditions are designed to restrain human ambition and ensure that war is truly a last and tragic option. In our next lecture, we'll shift from the decision to go to war to the rules governing conduct during war itself. This brings us to the second pillar of just war theory, jus in bello, the justice of war.